What's going on, guys? I'm Nashawn.
And now it's your boy King Caleb.
We have
Sarah here.
We decided to have Sarah back on the podcast.
Fortunately.
Like Drake said, back to back.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
she got some knowledge. She got some knowledge.
Low key corny, but she got knowledge.
So, yeah, man, it's February, right?
Yep.
The month of love.
The month of love.
Oof. Yeah.
The week of love, because we actually.
Some would say the day
yeah.
if they're like they don't have. Oh, it's just a day, but. Okay.
Celebrate at your own risk.
If you want to, if you're
Hey,
not.
there's a huge pandemic out there called the simp pandemic.
Yeah.
Don't be a simp. Make sure she's reciprocating the same energy before you start buying her all this stuff.
Facts.
Yeah, all right. That's just a warning out there. Simp.
I have some topics on that, or some comments on it, but.
We're just like so. The reason we're kind of like anti-simp is that obviously we have our own experience, but we don't want guys like messing up, because you can really lose in life by simping. You can lose your relationship, get cheated on, all that. It can be very unhappy for both parties if you're simping.
Basically, we want the guys to know their own value. We don't want them to be walked on.
100%. Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of men, young guys, don't know their own value, or just men in general.
Yeah.
And like you said, it not only is you going to be losing as a man, she's going to be losing. Because like a lot of, unfortunately, with the sim qualities, you don't have that manly characteristics, the leadership qualities.
Correct.
And your woman can't enjoy their full, your best self as a man if you're not bleeding like a man or being a man.
Yeah.
That's really good. Like how you said that.
That goes to, I think, in the same aspect of like women. So I think people in general should just know their value. Like, because I think if you're your best version for the male and then you're your best version for the female, then y'all could be the best versions of a relationship, like together. You know what I mean? If one is lacking, then the others might feel they have to carry that, or vice versa, So if a man knows his value, that's what we want. Same for a female. We want the females to also be like, hey, they're valuable as well, and then that's how you make something good. I mean, that's how I take it,
Yeah.
because it's reciprocal in that aspect.
And that's why, like, for the women too, the advice is like, know your value and don't be with a lame.
Yeah,
so a guy doesn't have ambition or
Correct.
doesn't know where he's going,
or goals or anything.
goals
Yeah,
in life.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's where she should know her own value. I deserve a man that has goals, and he's gonna lead me well. And then if I were to marry him, he's gonna be a good husband and take care of my children.
Right. Right.
And this is us assuming that both parties are trying to become the best versions of themselves, working on themselves.
Exactly.
Doing the healing,
Exactly.
doing all that work, and not just expecting, Prince Charming and Cinderella, but neither of them done the work.
No, yeah, 100%.
Imagine like there's probably some guy out there. He doesn't have a job, doesn't go, but he's expecting the top 10 model.
Yeah, he's expecting the Kim
Miss
K.
America up there.
And he 300 pounds playing video games 20 hours a day.
300 pounds.
Eating pizza all day. Dang, why don't I have the baddie? Why don't I have a girl like Kim K or Rihanna or something?
Or now that we talk about this, it's also the similar thing of how people are like, they're wanting to be in a relationship, but they don't go out. And I'm not saying go out like consistently out, but you can't expect, and this goes for men or a woman, you can't expect for your princess or Prince Charming, whomever, to come at your door on a Wednesday.
I saw your daughter.
It's like, oh, listen, I pulled up.
It's like saying, where are all the men, but you're not interacting with men.
Right, you have to put yourself.
Or opposite, or guy, where are all the women, but you don't go out through social interaction.
Correct.
You're always denying everything. I mean, I get it, if you're taking some time to work on yourself.
Right.
Yeah. But like, if you really want that partner and you don't, so the last podcast we had, it was for our boy Mimo, and we were joking. We were saying probably social interaction, you can put down your resume now, because most people don't know how to do social interaction.
Yeah, no,
sure. That's gonna be like a top thing.
Yeah.
I know the social interaction. You put in your resume, because with social media.
That's everyone is through a screen at this point.
Exactly. And for centuries, men, we have been doing the approaching, but now because social media and online dating, well, you know what? I could just text her, DM her,
and that's
can't
it.
say hi to her in person. You know what? Oh, she's beautiful. Let me go find her on Instagram, DM her, instead of actually going and approaching her in person and proceeding. And that's a lost art in nowadays.
That's also with online dating, it kind of not I want to say stir the pot, but it changed the atmosphere of just the typical picking someone up, like when you go out. Like if you're in a social setting, do you as a man still approach a girl if you're like, oh wow, she looks really nice, do I go talk to her? Or vice versa. Even so, like, does a female still do that, or do they even at all? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and online dating now is just more than anything. It's just behind the screen. Anything.
Honestly, especially as a guy, you can outcompete a bunch of other men if you just approach, because most guys are not doing approaching.
Nah, they're not. Yeah.
And it's actually interesting. A lot of beautiful women don't get approached, and we think they do because they're beautiful, but a lot of them don't get approached because guys are afraid of rejection.
Correct. Yeah.
They're too scared. They're like, I can approach the 6.5, but that 8, nah, I'm gonna
stick with something that I know for sure. It's the settling.
Which is crazy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And like, I think there's a time and place for online dating. Like, I would prefer the in-person approach, but there's still some, like, you can still meet, you know, good people and nice people. But I think just you can really feel somebody's vibe when you talk to them.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I really do appreciate social media because honestly, I met him to Twitter. I met a bunch of people. Yeah. Cool people.
Yeah, connections for sure. Yes.
I think social media is better for network connections because like there's so many connections that I probably would not have made if we didn't follow each other on social media. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like when it comes to like sexual dynamics, like between a man and woman, like, you know, approaching dating dynamics, lost art in person. You feel the vibe.
Yes, it's definitely benefited. You know, like, but it's like anything, you have to use it within moderation. You know, I remember I went out one day to dinner and there was a family in front of me, and I mean the whole family, a mother, husband, the dad, and then the kids, and all of them were either on their phone or on a tablet. And the whole dinner,
that's literally
the entire
crazy,
dinner,
bro.
I mean, I'm watching, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no, now this is within a family base, you know what I mean? We're taking things up a notch. Husband, wife, not even talking. Kids are on their tablet looking at whatever, playing whatever.
Crazy. You know, that's not even how to call it, it's not even uncommon anymore. You know, back then when phones started getting out, you're like, dang, why is everyone? Now it's like, it's kind of not uncommon. People are like, oh, okay, everybody's on the phone. It is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Personally, if I go on a date with a young lady and she's on her phone, date is a wrap. It's a wrap. I'll give her a warning one time. Hey, you know, can you please respect the date and could you not be on your phone?
Yeah.
But if she continues to be on her phone.
You said soak it in the water? Dump it in the water?
Honestly, she can pay for herself at that point.
Oh my gosh.
A boy say, let me get the check, please. I'm done here.
For me. You get the check from me. The single check. You can pay for yourself.
Goodness. No, but it is a lack of respect at that point.
Yeah.
It's very much so a lack of respect. You're not giving someone time, and clearly they're interested and they want to see if that could be something they pursue or further, you know, get into. And then it's like, oh, you're not even really there when you just, all people really want ever is to be present. Like, just be present. And so, especially when it comes to dating or in general, if you're constantly on your phone, social media, whatever, it takes away from the us time, you know? So I could see where it would be. You
know, I like how you touched on present, because we were talking earlier while you were in the bathroom about how like a lot of parents are not present in their kids' lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though some kids are raised in 2-parent households, but because their parents are not present in their lives, not saying you can't control 100% of your kids. At the end of the day is going to choose what he or she wants to do.
Correct. Yeah.
But you can instill those values and those discipline, you know, in your kid to make them become the best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, but being present in their kid's life is like something you should do and you should strive to do, because a lot of kids just go wild.
Yeah, run around like you're talking, like that guy that, you know, killed his girlfriend or whatever on the news is like. Even though he said that his dad was in the Navy or something like that.
Some military or something like that.
Military. I was like, yeah, maybe his dad was at the house, but he wasn't like present. Maybe he didn't actually instill those values, those principles into his kids. Like, hey, if you ever don't like somebody, maybe you should just talk to them, you know, don't resort to violence, things like that. And, you know, that's kind of sad. Just like you were saying, everybody was just, you know, on their phones and stuff. Like, everybody needs that presence from their parents, especially the father.
And they're just also in that aspect, they're just not learning how to socially interact. When you're young, that's big.
Wow.
Like that is huge for as a kid to be able to be in a setting and not be glued to your phone or your iPad, whatever, and being able to talk, because predominantly all life, what you're gonna do, you're gonna be at work, you're gonna be at school, you're gonna be talking. If you really cannot have that social interaction, how are you gonna deal with things? Like,
they
really,
got AI
no, it's
now, like, hey, can you tell this person?
yeah,
It's crazy. I've seen
the-
yesterday AI is going to replace about like 60% of the workforce in a couple years.
crazy.
That's
Even chauffeurs,
ridiculous.
Yes.
The people that's going to be serving you is going to be
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
think they did that
crazy.
already, like
Yo.
where they had the robots come in and serve your
there's,
food.
there's already one McDonald's there's no one working there, just all robots cooking your burger.
Yo,
Yeah.
they better
Some
not-
iRobot.
Imagine you mess up your burger.
I know, bro.
and
What
then,
if there's like,
kill you?
For the burger?
Yeah.
jeez, man.
You got violent
But
over here. I'm scared.
there's RoboCops already.
Yeah.
Like pulling
I
you
love-
over.
I love that movie.
Well, I knew something was going crazy when they started putting the whole Teslas and stuff. When you didn't need a person to drive a vehicle, I said, "No, this is crazy."
This is that
that
was
was
really
a bit
iRobot,
much. I
bro.
mean,
That's- but
this
that's
was like,
cool.
'Cause, you know,
I mean,
we-
it's cool.
you
Don't
know.
get me wrong, but it's also like, I would not trust. I mean, trusting your
I've-
car
I've-
to just take you. I mean, you see the accidents that happen with those
I've drove a
Teslas.
Tesla by one time, and it did drive by itself, but
Were you
something
scared?
something in me was like,
You wanted to take control.
let me
Yeah,
control.
you see,
As
you
a
want to
kid,
be.
Well, I think that if all the cars are being controlled by a robot, that eventually they'll have like mechanisms to stop and things like that. The technology just hasn't been.
to be honest,
perfected
this
yet.
will probably be less accident because there's a lot of human behavior. Like robots not gonna be drunk driving.
Yeah, they're
Or
not
you don't
on
be
their
texting.
phones. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
a lot
But
of
think about
people-
technology fails too, though. What about if there's like something in the hard drive or however that works where it
In,
breaks
They
and you
gotta
got
get
a
tune-ups.
family?
They gotta get tune-ups every single couple months to
Basically.
make
Right.
sure everything's working.
basically, in life, there's always gonna be some flaw
yeah.
in
Right.
anything.
100%.
That's true. Some kid
That's
ate
true.
a chocolate bar and there was some poison in it, and he exploded.
Wow.
I'm saying there's a
Didn't
fictional
that happen
story.
to Chocolate
We did-
Factory?
But-
No, he just became big.
Yeah. None of them died in Charlie. Yeah, none of them died. They just had weird, crazy things happen to them. Like they grew mad hair. The girl
Yeah.
got really
Yeah.
big with the gum.
Because
and
this
everything.
kid was so hard headed.
Yeah.
It pissed me off when I was watching that movie when I was a kid. I'm like, what are you
He
missing?
was so judgmental and just so like he thought he was, and it was a kid. That's the thing that blows me. He's like, this little kid carries himself like he is like that. I'm like, you're a little boy. Do you even know how to like ride a bike yet or something? Like, I feel like you're still learning things. And no, he was a character, but no. So yeah, I think that overall, circling around just the social media aspect of it, if you're using it for a good purpose and for the benefit of like, let's say a business, marketing, even just connecting with friends, obviously, but there should be that limit to it. You don't want to abuse it. I think that's the biggest thing. Don't abuse that, because then
like if my friend were to move, if he were to move to Canada or some Australia,
Australia, that's the biggest one, Australia.
this is why it's easy to connect with social media or on the
yeah.
phone. Because there was no
Yeah.
but the mail took a probably if you were to move to Australia, it would take a year to get my mail. Hey, bro, I'm like a long
Just at home.
Bro, yeah, I don't know how they would do that. That's crazy.
because you would have to mail. There was no phones. There was no social
Yeah.
media.
You need a virtual mailbox or something.
Well, let me ask you with the phone conversation, because I randomly thought of a question. Do you guys still call your friends, or do you predominantly text them? And when I mean call, I don't mean just, hey, I'm almost there in 10 minutes. Like, if a week goes by or a month, do you be like, hey, let's have a conversation, actually talk to see how they're doing, vice versa, catch up? Or do you predominantly text?
You know my favorite phrase. There's levels to this. And it depends on the friend.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
For example, with him, we can call, we can text.
It don't matter, right.
Like,
Yeah,
we
that's-
good. We Gucci.
He's the only person that I can call and or text.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
my
most
breaks
people, I'm like, yo, why are you calling me, dog? If you're not
Get
dying,
off my phone. Maybe they
That's
want to
so
call
cool.
to check up on you. Yeah, they might want to call to see how
okay,
you're
if
doing.
you're coming to check on me, that's different. But some people, it's like a dumb thing. You could have texted me, like,
Yeah, if it's dumb, then it's like,
just text
then,
me. But like, if you're a genuine person, like
Right.
for example, there's people I haven't heard in a long time, and they call me.
They wanna, yeah.
I'm like, yo, that's cool. That's dope.
Yeah.
But if it's like something like we could have texted and it's so dumb, like, bro, just text me.
yeah,
That's true.
real talk.
But like, if, like you said, if we haven't heard from each other, hey man, how you doing, man? I miss you. Let's catch up. I'm like,
Right.
yo, I'm about it.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
yeah,
That's true.
I'm actually, I didn't really notice it until like recently, but I'm actually like terrible at returning texts. It's like
could have told you that one. I noticed that as well.
I will. The only person for the most part, like I'll text pretty fast is Caleb. Other than that, if somebody texts me, like I might get back to them in like
a few hours.
Yeah.
Maybe another day.
I'm more. I'm really bad. I'm really bad with it. Like you have to. The only reason I will text is to say like, hey, we're making plans to do this.
Right.
Other than that, like I would prefer people call me as long as it's not something stupid. Like we can call, man. We can talk, man. That's fine. If you want to get in touch with me, you can call me.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know? I'm on the point right now. Unless it's business, or unless it's him, or like, unless it's like business, like, bro, let's just meet up. Like, I'm not gonna spend time texting. I honestly don't have the time to go back and forth.
School, yeah,
I don't have time to go back and forth. Hey,
what's up? What have you been up to? Yeah.
What are you doing right now? Did you get off work? Are you on break?
WYD. Yeah. Straight up.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
2 a.m. We already know.
Yo,
I'm not answering you at 2 a.m. Wait,
no, I meant.
Who are you thinking?
Yeah, I was. That's not what
thinking?
I meant.
What are you thinking?
I'm saying that you already know.
Your brain's in the gutters.
No, it's the 2 a.m. What you doing? What is the 2 a.m. What are you doing? Playing 2K? That's what y'all gonna say.
That's not what you were thinking.
Listening to a podcast.
That's not what. Okay, Sarah. Nice try. Anyway. What you said?
What about you? With the texting and the calling, like which one do you prefer?
So I'm really bad at texting as well. I won't lie. Usually so because when I get home, this is also like my own mind time. So I'm gonna put my phone down, and that's it. And I'm gonna go about my day. I don't even like taking my phone to the bathroom with me. Like that's like it's just.
That's wow. You on a whole nother level.
I just don't. I'm like, why? Nobody. I don't have to bother nobody, and nobody needs to bother me right now. Like that's just me. So when I get home, it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna put my phone down. I still want to move around. I don't like the idea that I have to have this little thing attached to me consistently. It just doesn't. I don't feel like I feel I could have more space knowing it's not around me than if it was on me. Because then I'd be constantly like. I feel like I'm waiting for a text or a call or something, so I don't like that aspect of it. But when I am on it, I like to do like follow-up calls is what I call it, like a checkup call. So like for people who maybe I haven't talked to in a while, like every month or so. I have a few friends who will rotate, like I'll call them 1 month and then they'll call me the next month, and we'll talk the whole ride like to my house or vice versa, and we'll talk for like an hour just catching up. And it's like, it's just like I call it like a wellness checkup almost. Like just, hey, how have you been? Last we spoke, this was where you were at in life. What's the latest, stuff like that. And just because I like to show people also, like, if they don't have maybe like a listening ear or someone to talk to, like I'm not going to be consistently every day might be checking up on you. But every now and again when I do want to check up, it's like, it's just nice to hear and have people just, what? Sorry.
And just, when you said every day checking up on you, that's a quick way to get blocked.
Facts. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not even do that.
Sorry, I'm just being crazy.
No, it's true. But I just think some people, I don't want to say they need it, but sometimes when you randomly expect that you get a phone call and it's like, man, like I didn't know, I really didn't want to talk about this, and you called me or something like that, and it goes both ways because I appreciate it when someone calls me, and oh wow, like you thought about me, like, and vice versa,
Yeah.
So. I'll leave voicemails too. I've done only to a few people,
really?
Which I never do.
Yeah.
There's only a select few. But when I'm like in a good mood and I'm just like, man, I'll just say like, I'll trash talk or say something in a voicemail. And I think it's funny because I can laugh at it, picturing how it sounds, hearing myself. So I can imagine them probably laughing like, yo, this girl is crazy.
Hey, you stupid bum. Why didn't you answer my phone, you dumb bum?
It's the dumb bum.
That's why you're ugly anyways.
Oh no, my gosh.
Like, you're not even a 10. You're like a 2. No, I'm kidding. No, but.
Wow.
No.
Wow. Is that how you feel?
No. I don't say that. Like I said, it's just a goofy phone call. Like, like, that's kind of flaw that you didn't pick up.
I told you.
No. Yo, that's corny. No, not even that. Not even that.
Man.
But no, I'll use it when I need to, and then if not, I don't want to be strapped to it like most of, I don't want to say all, but a lot of society is so pressed on their phone, and so like that's their like go-to for everything. I don't really like. I don't want to be like that.
Oh, actually, this is perfect segue because we want to talk about mental. Dopamine. You know what dopamine is, right? So like because of dopamine, the phone, like we respect. So there's a reason that our notifications are red. like these social media companies, they're pretty cruel. I'll say that. They study the human behavior, and so our human brains, when we see red, we tend to gravitate more towards it. Like,
okay,
that's why like red cars, they get pulled over more. Their insurance are up more.
Thank God
they're higher.
I have a red car
and I love red. Red is my favorite color.
And like fire truck.
This is my favorite color.
Is it really?
Yeah, I love red. Yeah,
that's
I really
cute.
do. So that's cute.
Well,
is
that bad?
You gotta
change it.
What do you mean? Why?
Because that's one of my favorites.
Is it really? Oh
yeah.
my God! There we go. Like,
yikes.
I think you should change it.
Who was born
I've had it
first?
How old are you?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I was spiritually born first.
Yo, it's the spiritually. Yo, get out.
I'm dead.
I was fresh out the womb in church already.
I'm so dead.
First service.
Oh man,
No,
listen.
We could go into this if you need to.
No, but you're right. I know that like Facebook is blue because like blue is like a calming effect too, so it makes you like be on it more.
Right.
So
okay.
So so like that has an effect on our mental. So like, honestly, if you take the phone away from some people, they can't survive a whole day without their phones.
Correct.
And because of that dopamine, because it's like instant gratification. Oh, did someone like my post? Or who?
Right,
who
you always
DM'd
want to
me?
comment. Yes, that's true.
What's,
That's true.
What's new on the stuff? So like, it's really bad. It takes an effect on your brain, and because we're always expecting something instead of getting normal natural dopamine. Like for example, hitting the gym and getting like 15 minutes of sunlight every day is natural dopamine.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is why like, even though they didn't have our modern technology, like people a long time ago, they ate naturally. They felt good. So that also causes a lot of depression. Not saying all forms, but also causes a lot of depression because of that dopamine factor. Like we always need that instant gratification.
Yeah.
So that's why like it's best, especially in the morning, to not use your phone straight up, like check it like a newspaper. Because I used to do that.
Yeah.
No, and people still do. That's the first, before they go to bed, check their phone. Let me see what's going on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. First thing they wake up, right after the alarm, it's like same concept. And it's like, I don't know, like you said, it would be fun to test that out. Like actually like try to go a full day without a phone and see how, I mean, it could go as simple as this, which I've had a conversation multiple times with people on it. GPS. I mean, do you really know how to get places? Like for the most part, do you know streets, like all that stuff? Most people will say no. And I'll say that I'm not great with that as well, but I still am very cautious of where my surroundings. And I'm always like, okay, I turned left here, I turned right here, all that stuff. Without their phone, people, I mean, just GPS alone, people won't be able to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because they're so constantly dependent. That's the thing. They're so dependent on a little thing that they can't really, I don't want to say they can't function, but almost so they can't function because they use it for just about anything.
I mean, it's a tool when you use it as like a good.
Correct.
I remember Jai said, use your phone as a tool, not a toy. And I was like, yo, that's fire, man. Yeah. It's like when you use it as a tool to like help your life, it can do amazing things.
Absolutely.
But when you're just using it when you're bored and you're trying to numb things, or I don't feel good, let me post a nice selfie, get 100 likes. Okay, I'm feeling better about myself.
Yeah, but how long does that last?
Yeah.
It's basically like people that do drugs or like dependent on alcohol or substance. They take it. So a lot of people take it so like their problems can go away. But after that, you gotta get back to reality.
Yeah.
Let me keep getting drunk so my problems can go away. But after you get drunk,
and that's the thing. I think.
Dang, I still gotta pay my bill.
It's still there. It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, it's still there. Now you just got and that's the thing. A lot of people, I think, to a certain extent, like when it comes to being dependent on things, it kind of gives them a runaway to not have to face what they need to face. So it's like, let me, go on Instagram. Let me, share a few posts. Let me, share selfies, like you said, whatever. And that is that gratification that they get right then and there. But working on yourself and actually like putting your phone down, reading a book, listening to a podcast, really giving yourself that me time, it's important. You know what I mean? But then that means facing things that you probably don't want to face at the time or something like that,
That's really funny because like I consider myself to be an introvert, very much so, where like I love my personal space. I love my me time. I love, so like I have to like be by myself, like after certain times, like this is fine, like because I know you guys and things like that. But if I'm like in a new environment, new people, I'm like, all right, you know,
when
I'm
is
waiting.
it time to go?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna head out now.
But in regards to what you were saying, like, it's very important for me to kind of like go back and reflect. Okay, what happened?
Correct,
you know, what's going on? But not just when I go to parties and socialize. It's for everything. You know, I think people aren't used to just being by themselves and being alone and just really reflecting on their lives. Like, how am I feeling? What can I do about that? You know, or like, oh, I feel bad. I need to get rid of this feeling right away.
Right.
And I think I can understand why nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants to wake up feeling like, you know, their life is a waste or something like that, you know, like,
right.
or they're going through depression or whatever. But, you know, that's more of an indicator that, okay, something needs to change. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It just means that something needs to change.
Right.
And you have to do the healing. You have to do the inner work. You got to sit by yourself. You got to, you know, go to the gym and read and pray and do all that stuff. And I think that people would rather just go on Instagram than do that internal work.
Mainly because that's the easy thing. And we tend to, as humans, like to take the easy route with some things, you know? And it's not necessarily that it's bad, but you're also not doing yourself like justice to actually be in tune with you a little bit deeper, you know, like actually, you know, checking in on yourself, taking that me time. I think we talked about it last time too, was the whole me time, and I think it goes into it a lot, just because I think people don't understand just how important it is to really like sit back and just sit, period. Like, you know, like, okay, like let me just think about, you know, my day or the conversation or vice versa, you know, and also just being able to unwind a bit. You don't always need to be with someone to necessarily unwind. You can unwind in your own terms, like you said, working out, praying, reading a book, whatever the case is. You end up having to figure that out yourself along the way, what best suits you. But the thing is just doing something, starting somewhere. You got to start. If you don't start, then it's not going to happen ever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Like we always say, or at least we're saying it now, you know, the small steps are better than no steps.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
like,
true.
It doesn't matter like where you start as long as you start.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But for my next question, let me read my script.
You don't want to go off scripts, remember?
No, we don't.
Of course
Cut.
not. No, saying what do you guys like if somebody's going through like depression, what are the like action steps or the thoughts or the habits that you would say they need to do to help, like not get rid of their mental health, you know, but like help with it, like improve their mental health?
Okay, I'll say this. Sometimes we may think that we're depressed, but sometimes it's just that in that moment we're feeling sad, because we can't, you know, you have a moment you feel happy, you have a moment you feel sad, but, you know, how does I say it? I don't want to put it like a cliche, but nowadays it's like, it's kind of like anytime you're sad, oh, I'm depressed. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's just natural. You can't be happy 100% of the time. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's emotions, you know. But let's say you are feeling sad or you do become depressed. Honestly, first thing I would say is get active. Go get some sunlight. Do a couple minutes of sunlight and hit the gym, because a lot of the times that could it's something else. It's called, it's not dopamine. It's something else. It's a chemical in the brain, and a lot of times you work out, that releases that sad chemical. Like you just
when you work out releases a sad.
No, it depletes the sad chemical.
Oh, okay.
It depletes it. So a lot of time you just need and a lot of times a reason this isolation is when the devil does his work.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So
wow. That's crazy, man.
So a lot of times he wants you to be alone on purpose.
Oh yeah, that's the easy route. Yeah, he's got you. And
then let me make him have these bad thoughts. Let me make him think about harming himself or herself.
That's crazy.
And
man.
then I would say like that's why you need to find good people and try to be around them, especially like when you're going through something rough in life. They say absolutely do not isolate yourself.
Right.
Because that's when self-harm comes. Because when you're not doing anything, oh yeah, that too, you should actively be doing something like, oh, you know what, I'm going through this rough stuff, let me try to read a new book, let me try to hit the gym, then try to hang out with these people, because that can put you in a depressive state too. But so there's sometimes when you try to do all that, you still feeling depressive, then you might need to go see a therapist
Whoa, therapist.
I think. Look, I wanna add to this, because it was good what you had mentioned about the whole just in general when you're okay. Let me revert. So when you ask that question, how I take it is one of the biggest things is when you're going through something in life, and let's say you do feel sad. It's an emotion, right? All these sad, happy, joy, whatever. Those are all emotions, and I think people sometimes might look at it like it's supposed to stay forever and it's supposed to last. But feelings come and go. I think that's a normal thing. Like when people ask, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" or where do you see yourself in 10 years? I've heard people happy. Like, and it's like, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's also like I read somewhere, like if people understood that those feelings come and go, like happy is not a destination, it's something, it's a feeling. So
it killed me, man.
I'm serious. So some people say that.
You sound like a Disney fairy tale.
Like some people are like, oh, like I want to be happy, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, happy is just, it's gonna be an emotion that comes, it's floating. Maybe one day you're happy, maybe one day you're a little bit more, sad or whatever. And I think with that, if it gets to a point where it's serious, where you see yourself, a lot of your normal customs, your routines changing, I think that's when it's a little bit more, okay, like I should probably, I don't want to say necessarily all off the jump, seek help, but I think that's the biggest thing is people need to push that pride aside and realize I can ask for help. Like, and that could be between your friends and talking about it, or going to a counselor. Like it's nothing wrong with that. I think people have that misperception that, oh, if I go see a shrink that, it's less. No. Actually, I think it's bigger for people to actually admit that they're in that point of their life where it seems to be too much and they want to go talk to someone, and the thing is, people don't ask for help. They feel they may need to get through this by themselves or whatever, but a lot of life isn't meant to go through by yourself. I think it's normal for you to lean on someone every now and again. And it should be like that,
yeah. Yeah, you pretty much hit it on the nail, because I know me, when I'm going through something, I really don't want no help. I want no help. I know that I need people, so, I might call Caleb, I might call, my friends, hey, man, what's going on? And you can already tell, man, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
What you got on your mind, yeah.
But it is really important, like you said, in the isolation, is where the devil works and whatnot. And even though for me, isolation can be good, even if I'm in it too long, like that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Like we need other people. You literally get, like stuff happens with the brain, like you were saying, like you're with other people, you feel safe. We know that the lone wolf like dies, like when they're by themselves. Like it's the wolves that are in the pack that survive and thrive.
Yeah.
And like literally as human beings, literally the way God made us is to be together, like community.
Yeah,
like it's all about community. Like the way, since back to old Bible times, there was always a community. Like no one really like did everything themselves. Like when you look, even like King David, he still had like, his councilmen and stuff like that. They were still telling him what's up. So like,
and I like that you bring that up, because I always revert to I forgot what scripture specifically it is from, but I'll never forget this passage where it says in the Bible, it literally says, in this world you will have troubles. So right then and there is certain. Like there's no questions asked, is guaranteed you're going to have troubles. And then it goes on to saying, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. So there's now the reassurance, don't worry about it. Like you're going to have troubles, but I got you. Simple as that. And I think that just kind of goes to show, even when we're talking about in a spiritual aspect of it, people don't need to necessarily assume that. Let's say we go to church, they're perfect, they don't have anything going on, they're on a high horse and they are living happily, the joy that they have, but you really don't know what is going on behind closed doors.
Facts.
They're just choosing consistently every day that despite what I'm going through at my house with my relationship, whatever the case is, God still got it in control. And people have to really, I firmly believe that's something that takes a lot to get to a point where it's like I have that that faith, but that's what it is. It's faith. You know, that's just the belief that, you know, God already, it's said, I'm going to go through this, but he's got me at the end.
Wow. There's a verse I really love. I forgot. I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but it said like, don't worry that you go through trials and tribulations it's a test to make you better, something like that.
Yeah. I know what you're
I'm butchering it, but it's something like that.
Right.
So like the trials and tribulations serves a purpose. So, you know, just because you're going through trouble right now doesn't mean that God don't love you.
Right.
Wow, yeah.
You know, and a lot of time, you know, most of the people successful I don't say self-made, but most of the millionaires right now, you know, that they made it out the mud. So everything that they went through served them a purpose, and that's why they became rich. You know, they didn't let that affect them. Dang, I was born in this terrible neighborhood, I was born in the hood, or, you know, parents were crack babies, but they still like, you know what, that made me stronger, and I can survive that.
Correct. And that right there is just it's as simple as this, as that's the power of perspective. You have to, I would say, you train yourself to look at things differently. It is, you know, it's work to think positive. You know, like, it's easy for anyone to go down a slope and think like something is wrong, or, you know, think negatively. But when you're constantly like telling yourself and speaking over those positive things in your life, it kind of just boosts you up a little bit more to be like, okay, this isn't turning out how I wanted or how I would have liked, but I know in the end is going to turn out to be for my favor, or like, you know, I'm going to be able to go through this and stand and go through and say like, oh, because of this, I'm still stronger or whatever. You know, I think all of us can look at a time in our life where we've had some hardship, and you fast forward to today and you're like, wow, I honestly had to go through that. I don't think I would be who I am today had I not gone through this particular accident or whatever the case is, you know? And I think that's also the perspective aspect. If you don't look at it like that, you're going to always, years down the line, why did this have to happen to me? I didn't deserve it. Of course. Now that's just not, you're not feeding yourself anything good.
Right.
So you just got to look at it on that side of things.
I think people do have a perspective problem. Even depressed people, like, they're just like, oh, this is it, there's no hope, this is my life, you know, I don't know what to do, it's probably never going to change. But if you're able to like break that cycle of those continuous negative thoughts and like, you know, hold up, maybe, like you're saying, like, there's a reason for this, right? Maybe, you know, I'm gonna get stronger because this, maybe, or, you know, whatever, is that if you can break that cycle, man, have that new perspective, then that's where real change happens. Now, like you were saying, it's like, how do we teach that? Like, how do we teach people, hey, you know, right, I know this thing sucks, but think about it this way. You know, it's like a glass half full or glass half empty, right? Technically, it's 100% full, half of it's oxygen.
Very analytical.
So, you know.
You know, perspective, man, perspective, bro. And I think that's beautiful, is that with the right perspective, anything can be amazing and beautiful and positive. Like, it doesn't, like, even the worst of the worst things.
You know, self-negative talk is one of the worst things you could do to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Because words are very powerful, like affirmations, all that stuff. So if you say, dang, I would never achieve anything in life, you won't ever achieve anything in life. If you say, I am going to achieve something, and you put in the work, like, pretty much whatever you say to yourself is pretty much going to happen.
Yeah, and that's literally just what you're feeding your mind is what's going to come.
Right.
Like, you know, if you're continuously feeding your mind these negative thoughts, so I'm never going to find someone who loves me for me. I, you know, like, oh, I don't have my parents and they don't care about me, or I don't have friends who check up on me. Yeah, you know, I don't want to say keep up with the attitude, because that sounds really wrong. So let me calm myself. But, like, you know, if you do that, at the end of the day, you're really just, your mind, you're going to react to what you're feeding. So, like, your body language, your energy every day, you know, whenever you walk in a room, if you're constantly just negative towards yourself, you're going to reap that negativity wherever you go with whomever. And I don't want to say people don't like that, but, you know, people say, oh, you know, that's a little bit of Debbie Downer over there.
Once you feel that negative energy, like, at least for me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm messing with this person.
Yeah.
You guys heard of the placebo effect?
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Well, that thing is actually real. So, like, the way they make medicine, it's like last week I was reading this because I've been listening to a lot of healthy podcasts now, like physical, like taking care of your body.
He's trying to turn his body around.
Yes.
Real talk.
No, it's good. It's good.
We see you, man.
We see you, man. We gonna film that video.
Thank you. Anyway, so like before they release any medicine, they do 2 trials. So they give group A, they don't tell them
what it is. Yeah.
And they're like, hey, this is gonna make you. They don't tell them it's gonna make them feel better. They're like, hey, just try this. Nothing. Some people become better. And in the group B, they tell them, hey,
it's gonna be this.
It's gonna be this, but they actually change the medicine. It's not even the real medicine, because the brain is so powerful. Your mind. A lot of people heal themselves, which is crazy. This study is crazy.
It's crazy.
And then so like, for example, a lot of times when people are dying, and the doctors say, hey, you only have this much time to live, and the people that really believe the doctor, they're like, dang, most of them died the same exact day. But the people that are like, you know what, the doctor says this, but I don't believe I'm gonna die. I got kids at home. I want to be there for my kids. I want to see my daughter. I want to see my son. A lot of them actually end up surviving because of the brain. The brain has so much power on the body. Which is, you guys gotta look up this study. It's crazy. But a lot of people actually end up healing themselves because of the self-thought. So if you're like, hey, I'm gonna die because the doctor told me I'm gonna die, your body's like, your brain's like, okay. And
that's it.
It's like when it's no for real. It's like as simple as if you have a headache and you take an aspirin. It's like, is the aspirin really working?
Right.
But then after oh wow, that really worked. But did it? Like, or is it just that you feel?
It doesn't really do anything. It's
correct
because you believe.
Exactly.
Because it says it on it. Oh,
okay, it does. That's what it does. It has to.
And that circling it around, it just goes back to the simple thing. If you believe that you're gonna be successful, that you can both financially, spiritually, whatever, all that stuff. If you're going to be, the best version of yourself, you're going to find someone, all this, you're speaking that into you, and it's going to come. Right. You know what I mean? It's just that positivity that's flowing now through you. And it'll come to a point where it's like, you're going to get those things. And, it's, I don't want to say it's better, but to a certain extent, obviously, what do you get from thinking negative? Honestly. And so if you don't get anything from thinking negative,
what's the point?
Think about the great, amazing things that happen when you think positive. Why wouldn't you choose the positive,
Yeah. I think that people just feel better about complaining sometimes.
I agree.
Sometimes they feel like, well, if I complain about it, it's kind of reasserting that I have no power over the situation. And I think that's just what a lot of people think. They feel like, oh, I don't have any control of my life, so I'm just going to think these negative thoughts. I'm just going to complain all the time. And the people who have those beliefs, they're like, no, I don't care if the doc says I'm going to die. Like, I'm in control of my life. I know that I can change, right? I put that video on like Instagram and Facebook because I want people to know that, hey, you can change. And if you believe that, if you literally believe that, I don't have to be the same person. I've been struggling with this addiction. I've been in this terrible relationship. I think I'm unlovable. Be like, you know what? Maybe I can change this thought, this habit. And they actually do, just because they believe it, man. I think that's so beautiful. Is that just from these beliefs that you can heal your own body? What?
Yeah.
Bro, the way God made our brains is so crazy. It's so powerful. Yeah. Like, when you think about it, what gets more reaction? Negative news or the positive news? People tend to gravitate towards the negative. Yeah. Or you say something controversial, people tend, but let's say you're out here like helping all the homeless people. You get a couple good.
No more homeless. Cool, bro.
Cool. Well, let's say you shot someone. Oh, bro, you heard about that? He shot me.
Yeah. Like that. And I think it's just plain and simple. It's easy to complain and think negative. That's just easy. Because you see it everywhere in social media, on the news. It's just at our disposal to constantly be complaining about. It could be as simple as, this isn't the coffee I wanted.
Go get your own coffee.
Okay, so now what are we going to do next step if it's not? It's little things like that. But when it comes to having to think positive, I think people, it's a little bit harder, obviously, like to actually really revert and retrain your mind. Because that's what it really is you're constantly giving your mind that positivity and feeding that, whereas just the negative just flows naturally. Like it's easy to complain about anything nowadays.
And if you don't control your internal word, it's gonna show outward. So if you're a person that reacts to everything, then you are gonna react. That's why, like, a lot of times, school shooters, because they can't control their emotions, or like people that commit murders, like most of the people that are in prison, a lot of them, they couldn't control their emotions.
Wow, yeah, that's true, man.
Because, like, let's say, road rage,
yeah,
someone cuts you off.
A lot, yeah.
Oh man, gotta take the gun out. Pow, pow, pow.
Hey,
and now you're in jail. Now you're in prison because you couldn't control your emotion. You could be like, dang, maybe this person, but because, like, the book, one of my favorite books, 7 Habits of Effective People. I don't know if I told you about that.
Yeah.
And then learning.
It's on my list.
It's
on my list. Yeah.
Very good book. And it was like learning to seek to understand, seek not to be understood. Because we all want to be heard. That's why, like, everyone's like, it's all about me. But sometimes you gotta seek to understand why this person's doing that. Let's say if someone cut you off the road, maybe they had a bad day at work, they're so in the mind, or they just got fired.
Yeah.
You gotta seek to understand, like,
yeah.
You can't sometimes, like, they weren't even paying attention, or like they had so much going on. Their daughter could have died, or someone could have died earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're like, you know what, they're just trying to get home, their tears up. You don't know.
Yeah.
And then you end up killing the person because you couldn't control your emotion.
Yeah. I would say with that, to a certain extent, when you realize this form of personal growth of knowing when to react and when not to react to things is very important. Like, you have to really, and that's a lot because it takes work to get there. Especially because I know I can be very reactive with a lot of things, but as I've gotten older, me personally, knowing just the power and the strength of knowing when is a good time and when it's not a good time to react is very, very, like, real, and it's true growth, because not everything needs a reaction. Now, you might want to react to something normally, but you also have to think about, is this really going to be beneficial if I react this way? Is it needed right now? Some things are not, and so when you're more in tune with yourself and on that personal growth journey of knowing I'm going to react to this way, or I'm not going to react, or vice versa, that's really strong for you personally to say that, because it's like, okay, I'm just going to let this one slide, and that doesn't make you less of a person. It just means, it's not worth picking a fight or arguing or whatever. And so when it comes to things like that, on road rage or whatever, it's like I see it every day, literally driving to work, and I know a past version of me will get so mad, but I'm like, but if I get mad about this, it's gonna, like, react and ruin my whole drive to work. And then when I get to work, I'm gonna be mad, and then now it determines my whole day. Now my energy's off, and that's first thing in the morning. So I have to constantly tell myself, okay, car, go ahead. Truck, go ahead and get in front of me, whatever. If you're gonna try to cut me off, I'm gonna just stand back a little bit, and it's little things like that. But that's a term of, like, just knowing how to be in tune with yourself and not letting those exterior circumstances affect the interior. That's the best way I could really put it.
Isn't there, like, one of Newton's laws, like, every action
an equal and opposite reaction?
Yeah, I forgot the words in between that, but yeah, it's like if you give that negative energy, a lot of times, that's gonna be brought back. So if you road rage, flip them off, and then they start doing else, and then boom, accident.
Something, yeah.
One of the best advice my dad ever gave me, in another lifetime, I used to cry a lot when I was a kid.
Oh,
Look,
and, even he's surprised. Wow. Yeah, we gotta dig deeper.
Okay,
really.
Anyway,
when did it stop, or is it continue?
Anyway, so he used to tell me, because, my parents would be like, bro, why are you crying? He used to tell me, like, a lot of times in life, things will solve themselves, and you don't have to do anything. So you just have to wait for it. 'Cause
I like that. That's good.
Immediately, something happened. I start crying. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what happened yet. But he was right. And that, obviously, with certain things, you can't just wait, like you said, with dating, things like that.
Right.
But, if there's a certain situation that happens to you and you're like, your first reaction is to do something about it, a lot of times, let me just wait. Let me see what happens. See what's going to happen.
That's good.
A lot of times, it literally just solves itself. It's just our brain thinking, oh, this is bad. Something's going to happen. Our fears. Oh, something's going to blow up. I remember I was coming home from the UK last year, and, like, I was literally on time, or I was early. And so much stuff happened that I ended up almost not catching the flight back to America. And it wasn't even my fault. It was like the line was super long. I was like, yo, I got here like an hour early. I was like, what's going on? Just a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened, but I was like, yo, I'm just gonna chill. And they just left late. Something was wrong or whatever, but they ended up leaving late, and I was able to come back here, which is really, really good.
He's like, I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. But like, that goes to show, like, a lot of bad situations, you really just have to like wait and see what really happens instead of reacting.
And I think the waiting part is what kills a lot of people, because when you wait, you're realizing you're not really in control.
And that's what,
and everyone, we all love to be, honestly, we can all be like, we all like to be in control of a lot of things. And if you just don't do anything, it irritates, it irks you, because it's like, oh, I'm just here, I'm in the same spot. But like you said, there's a good part in there's always something learned in the waiting more than anything. There's always going to be a lesson learned in that waiting. And as long as you like look at it that way, you'll get that lesson, But a lot of people, we just naturally, we don't want to wait. We're always just ready to put our hands in something, ready to change a circumstance or an outcome. And like you said, well, what your dad said, that waiting portion, that, things will unfold how it needs to. You just got to be patient in that waiting aspect.
Yeah, it's like, you're baking a cake and you want the cake to hurry up. You can't put your hand in there and take it out. Like, it's not ready yet.
Or like the saying that the saying that goes like, you can't watch a boiled, what is it? The pot oiled, or about you can't watch a boiled pot or something like that.
Yeah,
because it doesn't necessarily make whatever you're boiling fast. Like, it's not going to be faster. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so true.
I actually have a question. I want to ask about the marriage thing. Do you think there's a certain age
that you
like men and women should be married? Like, do you think like, I mean, obviously everyone gets married.
I'm not gonna hold you to it. That's a good topic, because people always say like, it doesn't matter how long you dated. Like, it's a feeling. When you know. Yeah, I guess, but I don't know, because I've seen people who've been dating for 5 years and they get married and then they're only together for like a year. And then I've seen people who've dated for like 8 months and then they're married and they've been married for I don't know how long. It is very hard to say if there is a timeline. I can't be the one to say, but I sometimes when I see people get engaged at early time, I'm kind of like, oh, like, how does that work? That's the only thing that comes to my mind, is how does that really work?
I need that button. Fresh fit, stupid. Like, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No.
But people have different takes on it, and that's...
That's why I asked the poll, like, is love about feeling or is it about choice? Because feelings, they go away.
They really do, man.
And that's why I think I replied both, because specifically when you're talking about it's a feeling, yes, like you feel the love for someone, but then at some point too, especially when you're with someone for so long, you're choosing to love them.
Yeah.
At that point, you're married for 10 plus years. That's all you've known is your wife or your husband. Like, I'm only been with one person for 10 years. And I'm seeing little things that maybe when we first started dating, it's not there, but now they're different. It doesn't mean you don't love them. Now you're choosing to love them despite them leaving their drawers on the floor or not helping in the kitchen or vice versa. That's a choice at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how I've always
that's
seen
why
it.
I think is marriage about choice? Is marriage about duty, or is it about love?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I still go with
duty, which is, I guess,
because when you think about it,
I mean, you definitely have a role. I think if you get married and you don't expect each of you to have a role in the marriage, you're setting yourself up for failure. Mm-hmm. But if you know, hey, this is what we expect. Your role is this. My role is this. At times, maybe, if you're in a wheelchair, maybe I will have to pick up your role.
Only if you're in a wheelchair.
I might have to cook because maybe you can't, or I might have to watch the kids because you can't grab the kids when they're running out the house.
Right.
Something like that. But for the most part, I have a role, you have a role. We expect that to be it. And if I come home and, the house is super dirty and there's people coming in an hour, we're going to have a talk because your role is to clean and to cook. There's no food ready. The house is a mess. They got donkeys, all right, on the roof. What's going on?
That's why, because back in our grandparents' day, the reason marriages are so high in divorces right now is because people are divorcing out of, I'm not feeling them anymore. They're boring. No, back in our grandparents' day, it was like duty. Like, we made a commitment till death do us apart. I don't care how I'm feeling. We're going to stay married. But nowadays, it's like, no, I'll divorce you because of my feelings.
Or they're bored or something, yeah. And the thing with that, though, is I think marriage, when you look at it in that aspect, like it's a duty, when you commit to someone, you're committing to all of them. So you're committing to 10 years from or 2 years down the line when they're no longer the same person that you first met them, because we're going to naturally change every year. Like that's just, so who I am now is not going to be who I am 5 years from now. So if I'm married at that point, I'm going to say, you're choosing to love me now and also the changed me. Now, obviously, I would want the changed me to be like, you know, healthy, whatever. But you're committing yourself to being with that one person despite the changes that we're going to have together and separately. Because you're just like your spouse is going to change, you're going to change and vice versa. And we're going to have different seasons. But it's that coreness of this is a team. Like, is you and me till the wheels fall off, period. That's how that's in my take, how I've always looked at it. Because nowadays, people don't want to put in the extra work of, oh, he or she is not doing this anymore, so I think this is it, or whatever. But they're also not communicating these things. So they're letting things go, and it's accumulating, and then they're not communicating when something is different. Like, hey, babe, we got to talk about this, or that's a core factor in it too.
So about the communication thing, because that's, you know, I recently broke up with somebody. Right. And the reason why, like, you can communicate something, but when, like, I'll say in this instance, whereas, like, a woman could communicate to a man to, hey, you need to step up, you need to be a better man. But if she knows, like, with the roles, the way the roles are is, like, it's not her job to tell the man that he needs to be a man. He should already be a man. How can you communicate something when that's literally something a man should already know?
The foundation, right?
That is exactly the foundation. So at this point, I've seen it before. Somebody I know, dad got a divorce. She just came up and said, hey, I want a divorce. I'm leaving you. And he's like, what's going on? I can do this. We did it. But that's like, bro, I could already tell he was being a simp because he was putting her first. He had like no male friends. Like, he was doing all this super beta stuff. So it made total sense. Bro, you can't change because you should already be that man. Now, one of the reasons why, like, I ended this relationship because I felt like there's no way she could change something that's not changeable. Okay. Like, if you think that, just like with that scenario, if you think it's unchangeable and communicating, like, that's not going to work, you just going to have to end it. But you should know from the get-go who this person is. You should know, oh, is this guy a man? That was her fault in thinking, oh yeah, maybe he's not really a man, and yeah, maybe I'm taking charge, but that'll be fine. That was her fault. Or in my situation, I thought, oh yeah, maybe this isn't such a big thing, I'll just roll with it. But you really have to know what's really important to you, what you value, and frankly what you need. Because what you want could be different from what you need. You could want a super baddie, right? She could be a 10 out of 10, man. She freaking the bed, man. Freaking the sheets, man. Amber Heard. But at the same time, she not what you need. She crazy, bro. She crazy. She doing stuff. You coming home, you got feces on the pillow. You said, God. Hold up.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Like, yo. Like,
next level.
Whole nother dimension. Whole nother dimension.
Sick in the head.
So it's like, you have to know, yes, what you want. Like, this is cool. She can be, you know, Latina, whatever. But you also gotta know, you gotta have the same values. Okay, she cooks, she cleans, she feminine, she do all this, she got a good family structure. You know, this is for me, right? You know, she Christian. Or if you like, oh wait, her relationship with God is kind of rocky. Let's go deep into that. Let's see what's going on. Oh, it's really not there. Deuces, sorry. And you don't even entertain something like that.
Bro, you hit on the nail, bro. That's why, like, the communicating thing, there's certain things I shouldn't have to communicate to you. You should know, like, especially if we took a vow and we established what we were gonna do, and then you just stop doing it. I shouldn't have to tell you, hey, why you're not doing it? Like you were saying, especially as a man, like, why are you as a woman telling me, you know, why should you be communicating to me, hey man, why are you not ambitious anymore? Like, you know, like, no, you shouldn't be communicating that to me. Like, and then when she gets to that level, or that person gets to that level to communicate things you should already be doing, that's your fault. I'm not gonna feel sorry for the divorce.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds bad.
I think it's self-accountable. Like, there's certain people, it sounds bad, but it's your fault. Like, it's something
it
you
really
woke up,
is.
someone broke up with you. Oh, what happened? You didn't communicate with me, bro. You stopped being ambitious. You stopped being the leader. You know, you stopped hanging out with the boys, or
you picked the wrong person, man.
You picked the wrong person.
Yeah.
And then that's where, but a lot of people are not self accountable. They always have to blame the other party. And mind you, guys, we're not against each other. Men and women, we're meant to complement each other. We're not meant to be fighting against each other.
That's true.
We're against the weak, the people that are not wanting to take initiative to be their best self. Like, but I mean, we're helping those people. Like, but like, honestly, like, for example, weak men or people that are not self accountable, they're not. It's kind of like they're dangerous to society. Like weak men, like people that don't know how to control their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, the crazy guy.
Yeah, those are people that are dangerous to society.
Yeah. I think to add to that too is just a simple fact. When you're getting into a relationship, one of the biggest things is you can't look at someone to be a project for you. Like right, you just that's not like, and I think we touched base on that multiple times because a lot of people do that, and it's like, oh, I see what they could be and they could be this and vice versa, but nobody can make somebody change. I think that's the hardest thing for someone to understand is you can't make them change. Like eventually there has to be a point where someone is going to want to do that change for themselves, not for anybody else but themselves. Yeah. And so if you're dating and you don't see the things that you want in a person, like you said, I'm out. Like, it was good to know you, vice versa. Now, I think it's a lot easier said than done, though, for sure. I mean, because you date somebody and you might be really in tune with someone and you do like them. And then it's like, oh, man, but they don't have this, or, is that something that you can work with, and vice versa. But those core values that you always have, don't fold on them just because, someone looks good on the outside. If they don't hold what you want from them, listen, it was good knowing you, like, no hard feelings, but I have this and this that I know I need in my life, and it's nothing against you. It's just it's best we go our separate ways, But that change and stuff, or that desire to communicate and want someone to change. Now, that doesn't mean when you hear people tell you like, oh, I think you should be a little bit less angry, or you should be less needy or something. That doesn't mean someone doesn't automatically, I'm not going to change, so I'm out because you're like this. But it does mean to a certain extent, when I talk about communicating, I look at it in this way. If you communicate to someone that they hurt your feelings, now that it's been communicated, if they do it again, that's a different story. Because it's been communicating that I don't like when you call me this, and this. Right. But now you're using it. And that's the big thing about communicating is you're letting them know right now, like, okay, this didn't rock my boat. And now what they choose to do after it's been communicating, now that's on them. And that's showing you their true colors to you.
Yeah, if it's something that's, changeable, right? If they do something that really bothers you and you don't say anything, and they can change it, but and then you're getting angry at them, you're building up resentment, that's definitely on you because you didn't communicate it. And now you're saying you want a divorce when you should have communicated this 10 years ago. Right. Saying that, hey, from the jump, I don't like your family, or I don't like, the fact that you put your socks on the counter before bed. That's where we eat. I want a divorce. And you're like, yo, what you mean? I told you I like to put my socks on the counter.
You knew this about me.
Then you can have a conversation.
That goes into the whole, maybe if you're waiting.
Mondays and Wednesdays.
No, that goes in, because that's compromise. Now, that goes into the simple fact that when you're communicating, don't wait to communicate things. And a lot of people have the tendency to do so. They're like, you know what? I've been dealing with this for 2 months, but after today, we have to have a sit down and talk. Wait, 2 months? Talk about things when they're happening, or maybe not then and there. If you need to get a break and cool off, okay, cool off. But talk about things as it's occurring, because all you're doing now is you're literally putting stuff under the rug. And then one day when you're really upset, everything is going to come out, and you're going to start bringing stuff up from a year ago. What do you mean? That was never discussed, and you want to talk about it now? And, that's where people, I think we should learn to practice more of that effective communication. When things are bothering you right then and there, speak on it, talk on it. If you need to take a day or two, absolutely. Cause but always talk about it on that moment. Don't wait. Don't prolong the things you need to talk about with someone.
Real talk. That was amazing. Yeah. That's why we're talking about it right now.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Wow, get a yes sir from Sarah, man. Okay.
Yes, progress. Yes, sir.
But yeah, I guess we're gonna end it there. I know our guest has to go, but we're definitely gonna continue this conversation sometime in the future, because it's a hot topic. You know, all of us seem to be very passionate about it.
Oh yeah,
a lot of things. There's so much to talk about with this for sure.
Yeah, we definitely talk about other things next time.
Yeah. It's been real though.
The married people still have sex. Tune in.
That's a serious a segue.
Sexist marriage.
Yeah. Next time, guys.
Yeah, that's sad though.
Yeah, that was a really good podcast, guys. You know, thank you for coming on again. You know, we might see you.
Always good times.
Within the next
6 months.
6 months to.
I'm on probation, guys.
200 years. You know.
You're still alive. One final thing.
That was
dang.
Real. Put me in a coffin type moment. Wow.
Praise God, man.
Always. God is good. When?
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
Monday through Sunday.
Thank you, like you said, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And thank you for dropping this amazing knowledge and being a great woman of God. Anyways.
Thank you.
So what is one, because we talk about a lot of topics today.
We did.
But what is one final thing that you want to say? Your final words of this episode.
My final words of this episode.
Of winning in life.
I'm right.
No, that's not what I'm gonna say. I think final statement to close it out is, as far as like what we were talking about with, you know, mental health and everything, we are living in an age where there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of people going through these things. So I firmly believe that, you know, you guys, anybody is not alone. And whether that's with your circle, your friends, family, whatever the case is, it's not less than if you need to talk to somebody. You know, that's not the case at all. So, you know, reach out for help if you really need help, even if it's something minor. It's not anything like, you know, that is gonna look frowned upon if it's something as a simple conversation that you need to have. But a lot of those times, those difficult conversations that have to be had are what ultimately change you and change your circumstances. It takes that one step to just talk. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, speak up.
That was good. No, that was good. For real.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yes.
All right.
Alrighty. Thank you guys. I'll see y'all next time.